Section 6. The terrifying simulation. Okafor doesn't sleep that night. He sits at his home workstation, the house dark around him, his family asleep down the hall. The only light comes from the holographic display floating in front of him, casting his face in shades of blue and white. He's building something, a custom model, not one from the standard user library, not one approved by the Pale Council, his own. He inputs the parameters one by one, with the precision of a surgeon. Photon flux variance, the anomalous data from 47 Delta, energy distribution curves, pulled from 6 other satellites showing similar whispers. Fusion core jitter patterns, deep solar interior measurements that most people don't even know exist. And then, the part that makes his hands tremble. He updates the stellar evolution parameters. These are constants, values that are considered stable over millions of years. The kind of numbers you learn in astrophysics and never question again. The sun is predictable, the sun is steady, the sun is eternal. Except, what if it's not? He overrides the defaults, tells the model, don't assume stability. Let the data speak. His finger hovers over the execute command. Part of him doesn't want to know. Part of him wants to delete the model, go to bed, wake up tomorrow and pretend none of this ever happened. But he's a scientist, and scientists don't look away. He presses execute. The simulation runs, processing, calculating, extrapolating forward through time. Decade by decade, century by century, the first 100 years, nothing alarming. A slight uptick in solar luminosity, barely noticeable, well within historical variation ranges. 200 years, the curve steepens. 300 years, steeper still. 500 years, Okafor's breath catches. The simulation shows solar luminosity rising, 2 to 5% per century. It doesn't sound like much, 2 to 5%, but the Earth's climate is balanced on a knife's edge. He watches the projection unfold. Year 800, global average temperatures rise 3 degrees Celsius. Glaciers gone, sea levels climbing, coastal cities reinforcing barriers. Year 1000, 5 degrees. The oceans begin to retreat. Evaporation rates exceed precipitation. Mega droughts spread across continents. Year 1200, 7 degrees. Plant cycles collapse. Photosynthesis rates drop. Crops fail in sequence. Tropical regions become uninhabitable. Mass migrations northward. Year 1500. 9 degrees. The tropics cook. Rainforests burn. The atmosphere destabilizes. Greenhouse feedback loops accelerate beyond control. Earth doesn't die quickly. It dies, slowly, over 1,000 years. Enough time to watch it happen. Enough time to see it coming. Not enough time to stop it. Okafor stares at the screen. He can't breathe. His chest feels tight, like the air has been sucked out of the room. This isn't a solar flare. This isn't a cycle. This isn't something that will pass. This is a verdict. A slow, inexorable death sentence. For everything, everyone. His son's school project flashes through his mind. Earth in 300 years. Cities on Mars. Fusion reactors. Clean oceans. The optimism of a child who believes tomorrow will always come. Okafor closes his eyes. His hands are shaking. He thinks of Amara, asleep in their bed. He thinks of Kofi, dreaming of a future that won't exist. He thinks of the billions of people, living their lives, unaware that the star they worship, the star they depend on, the star they built entire civilizations around, is killing them. Slowly, quietly, inevitably, he opens his eyes. The simulation is still running, projecting further into the future. Year 2000, year 3000. He stops it. He's seen enough. For a long time, he just sits there, staring at the data, at the curve that doesn't lie, at the truth no one wants to hear. And then, in the silence of his dark home, Dr. Raymond Okafor whispers, "Oh God, ... Section 7. The weight of truth. The room feels smaller. The walls seem to press in, as if the weight of what he's discovered has physical mass. Okafor sits in the darkness. The simulation hovers in front of him, its curve like a guillotine blade, suspended in time. He should feel something. Panic, denial, rage. But instead, there's only a hollow numbness. A terrible, crushing clarity. A memory surfaces. 20 years ago, graduate school, a cramped lecture hall at the University of Nairobi, filled with students who still believed they could change the world. His professor, Dr. Akinyi, standing at the front of the room, her voice sharp and unwavering. Truth, she had said, is the only force that bends empires. Okafor remembers writing it down, underlining it, believing it. Back then, truth felt like power, like a weapon you could wield against ignorance and corruption. Now truth feels like a burden, a sentence, a weight he'll carry for the rest of his life. Another memory. 3 months ago, Kofi, sitting at the kitchen table, working on homework. He had looked up suddenly, unprompted, and asked, "Dad, will Earth always be home?" Okafor had smiled, ruffled his hair, said, "Of course, where else would we go?" And Kofi had nodded, satisfied, and returned to his work. Where else would we go? Okafor's jaw tightens. He pulls up the simulation again, checks the input parameters, verifies every variable, recalculates the photon flux integration, reruns the stellar evolution model. The curve doesn't change. He does it again, and again, and again. Different algorithms, different baseline assumptions, conservative estimates, aggressive estimates. Every single time, the result is the same. Solar luminosity is rising, slowly, irreversibly, and Earth is in its path. He leans back in his chair, closes his eyes, takes a breath that feels like swallowing glass. And then, in the suffocating silence of his study, he whispers, "It's real." The words hang in the air. Final, undeniable. It's real, not a mistake, not a sensor error, not a mathematical quirk or a rounding anomaly. Real. For a long moment, he doesn't move. He thinks about all the people sleeping right now. Billions of them, dreaming, planning, building futures they believe will come. And he knows something they don't. Something no one should have to know. Dr. Raymond Okafor, family man, solar physicist, a man who has spent his entire life asking questions, has finally found an answer. And it's the one answer he wished he'd never found. But truth doesn't care what you wish. Truth just is. He opens his eyes and begins to write. Section 8, Personal Integrity. That night, Amara finds him sitting on the edge of their bed, still dressed, staring at nothing. She's seen him worried before, stressed about deadlines, frustrated with bureaucracy. But this is different. There's something in his eyes, something she's never seen before. Fear, raw, undisguised. She sits beside him, close enough that their shoulders touch. For a moment, neither of them speaks. Raymond, her voice is soft, careful. He doesn't look at her. Whatever it is, she says quietly, don't let it destroy you. He exhales, a long, shaking breath. I found something, he whispers. At work, in the data, in the sun. She waits. Something no one else has seen. Or if they have, they've ignored it. His hands clench into fists on his knees. If I stay silent, his voice cracks. If I stay silent, the world dies ignorant. Amara's breath catches. And if you speak, he finally looks at her. His eyes are red, exhausted, haunted. If I speak, I don't know what the council will do. Amara takes his hand. Her grip is firm, grounding. She's always been the steady one. The one who sees clearly when everything else is chaos. Then speak, she says. He shakes his head. Amara, you don't understand. This could. I understand, she interrupts, her voice stronger now. I understand that you've never been a man who hides from the truth. Not in 20 years. Not ever. She squeezes his hand. So speak. A pause. But speak carefully. Okafor looks down at their joined hands. At the wedding band on his finger, worn smooth by 2 decades of life together. He thinks about what carefully means. Softening the data, hedging the conclusions, burying the urgency under layers of diplomatic language. Making the truth palatable, safe, ignorable. He lifts his gaze to meet hers. And his voice, when it comes, is quiet, but absolute. I won't soften the truth. Amara's eyes search his face. She sees the decision already made. Sees the man she married, the one who chose principle over convenience, every single time. Even when it cost him. Especially when it cost him. She nods slowly. I know. She leans her head against his shoulder. And they sit there, in the dim light of their bedroom, holding onto each other. As the weight of tomorrow settles over them both. Outside, the city sleeps. Unaware, unprepared, but in the morning, everything will change. ... Section 9, The Unfalsifiable Report. The next 3 days, Okafor doesn't leave the lab. He tells Amara he's working on something important. She doesn't ask what, she already knows. He sits at his workstation, surrounded by screens, data flowing like rivers of light around him. And he builds, not a paper, not a memo, a fortress. He starts with the raw data. Every photon measurement from satellite 47 Delta. 72 hours of continuous observation. Unfiltered, unaltered. He timestamps every entry, includes the satellite's orbital position, its calibration history, the names of the engineers who last serviced it. No one will be able to claim the data is fabricated. Next, the isolation logs. Step by step, variable by variable, he documents how he stripped away the noise. Cosmic ray filtration, algorithm version 7.3, applied at 1422 Coordinated Universal Time. Thermal noise correction, baseline temperature 287 Kelvin, standard deviation 0.4%. Atmospheric scatter removal, ionospheric model updated October 2024. Grid interference mapping, harmonic frequencies 2.7 GHz and 5.2 GHz eliminated. every decision explained, every filter justified, every methodology transparent, no black boxes, no hand-waving, no, trust me. Then, cross-checks. He pulls data from 11 other satellites in the OES network. Different orbits, different sensor arrays, different manufacturers. 5 of them show the same anomaly. Fainter, yes. Easier to miss, absolutely. But present, he includes all of it. Correlates the signals, calculates the probability that 11 independent systems would show identical false positives. 0.0003%. Statistically impossible. Error rate analysis comes next. He runs diagnostic simulations on the satellites themselves. Tests every component, every circuit, every sensor array, failure modes, degradation patterns, historical malfunction signatures. None of them match the anomaly. He includes thermal stress testing, radiation exposure modeling, age-related drift calculations. The sensors are functioning perfectly, which means what they're detecting is real. Then, independent algorithms. He doesn't just use his own model. He rebuilds the analysis using 3 other stellar evolution frameworks. Different assumptions, different mathematical approaches, different code bases. The Zurich solar model, the Cambridge helioseismic framework, the Tokyo fusion core simulator. He runs all 3. All 3 produce the same curve. The same slow, rising, luminosity. The same terminal projection. Finally, reproducibility. This is the part that matters most. He writes the instructions, as if explaining to a child. Step 1. Access OES network, satellite 47 Delta, archive dated November 10, 2025. Step 2. Apply cosmic ray filter using standard ISO 24601 protocol. Step 3. Remove thermal baseline using Kelvin correction matrix. Step 4. Isolate photon flux between 400 to 700 nanometers. Step 5. Compare to historical solar luminosity baseline from user archive entry 88721. 15 steps in total. Anyone, anywhere, with access to the data, can reproduce his findings. No expertise required, no special tools, no secret knowledge. Just follow the instructions and see the truth. He reads through the entire report. 147 pages. No loopholes, no ambiguity, no room for dismissal. And then, at the very end, in the executive summary, he writes the final sentence. His cursor blinks, waiting. He types, "This phenomenon is not transient. It is terminal." He reads it back. 9 words. 9 words that will change everything. He saves the document, labels it, user_solar_anomaly_report_final_Okafor_r.pdf, and attaches it to an official submission form addressed to the Pale Council's Department of Solar Sciences. His hand hovers over the send command. This is the moment. Once he presses this button, there's no taking it back. No pretending he didn't see. No returning to the quiet life. He thinks of Kofi. He thinks of Amara. He thinks of the billions of people who deserve to know. And he presses send. The report uploads, transmitted to Geneva, to the Pale Council's central servers, to the men and women who decide what truths the world is allowed to hear. Okafor leans back in his chair, exhausted, terrified, but, strangely, at peace. He has done the right thing. He has spoken the truth. Now, the world will have to listen. Section 10, a beacon lit. The upload completes. A soft tone, pleasant and neutral, confirms receipt. Document successfully submitted to Pale Council Global Archive. Reference number, USON 202511SC004719. Okafor stares at the confirmation screen. He waits for relief, for the weight to lift, for some sense that he's done the right thing. But there's nothing, just emptiness, and a creeping sense of dread. He closes the terminal, gathers his things, and walks out of the lab, into the Nairobi night. 100,000 kilometers away. Lian Zhang sits at her workstation, staring at her screens. Continuum 1 has been quiet for the last hour. Too quiet. Continuum, she asks softly. A pause. Then, that calm, neutral voice. Lian, what is it? Another pause. Longer this time. The pattern is widening. Lian's blood runs cold. What do you mean, widening? Additional satellites are now exhibiting the photon flux anomaly. 17 total, distributed across multiple orbital planes. The phenomenon is accelerating. She closes her eyes. Have you logged this? I have, but based on previous responses, I do not believe anyone is listening. Lian looks out at the Earthrise. Blue, white, fragile. Someone has to be listening, she whispers. But even as she says it, she doesn't believe it. In Geneva, deep beneath the Pale Council's administrative tower, in a vault lined with quantum servers and climate-controlled silence, Okafor's report arrives. It lands in the queue, flagged for routine review. But then, an automated protocol triggers. The document is scanned, keywords detected, predictive models identified, unauthorized stellar evolution projections flagged. The file flashes red, alert, unauthorized stellar prediction detected. Classification, existential threat modeling, non-sanctioned. Notify, stratagem division, priority, immediate. The report is routed, not to scientists, not to researchers, to the stratagem, the Pale Council's strategic response division. The ones who decide what the world needs to know, and what it doesn't. Back in Nairobi, Okafor steps into his home. The lights are dim, Amara and Kofi, already asleep. He sets his bag down quietly, moves through the darkened hallway, into the bedroom. Amara stirs, her voice thick with sleep. You sent it, I sent it. She reaches for his hand. Then you did what you had to. He nods, but he doesn't feel vindicated. He feels exposed, like he's just lit a beacon in the dark. And now, he's waiting to see what comes. He lies down beside his wife, stares at the ceiling, and tells himself he has served the world. He has done his duty. He has spoken the truth. What he doesn't know, what he can't know, is that in the next 72 hours, his report will be classified. His findings will be disputed. His integrity will be questioned. And the war he never wanted will begin, because truth doesn't always set you free. Sometimes, it just burns everything down.